Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. You find yourself in such a unique position as the CEO of Hallow, the biggest company in so many genres now, not only in terms of Christian and some form of media space, but also with meditations. And there's just so much going on. I am truly so thankful for you joining us today.
Likewise, brother. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Diving right in, to start us off, Christianity truly is the cornerstone of Western civilization. Still, in many ways, we have lost understanding of this and are experiencing a series of epidemics with a rise in cynicism and a drift away from conservative principles, typically associated with the church. With this, there's also been an increase in the love for the fruit of Christianity, but not the tree itself. How do we, as Christians, effectively bring the good news, stand firm in our faith, and love well when the world only wants to love the fruit, but not the tree?
That's a great question. There's this analogy that I heard that was, if you take a flower and you cut it off from its roots, you cut it off at the stem, it will still smell for a while, and it'll still look like a flower for a while, but eventually it'll die. And so for the first bit, you don't really notice, it still seems like a flower, it still smells like a flower, it still looks like a flower, it's still beautiful, you can put it in your room. But eventually it dies. And I think that's what you have at the heart of Christianity. It's like the fruit of Christianity is so beautiful because it's love. It's the meaning of life. It's total self-gift. It's virtue. It's sacrifice. It's charity. It's faith. It's hope. It's joy. It's beautiful music. It's peace. It's real rest, not fake rest, real rest. Like the fruit of Christianity is so beautiful. Really anything that is beautiful is because of its root in Christ. But it's always a reflection of what sits at the core, which is the Lord. And, I think we often miss it as Christians when we're like sharing about Christ and sharing about our faith, which is like, what are we sharing at the core? What are we sharing? And sure, it's a set of belief systems, or it's a belief system. It's a set of like theological principles. It's certainly a set of practices and a set of being charitable and serving our brothers and sisters, especially those who are most in need. It's certainly beauty and art and music. But at the core of everything, at the beginning of everything, it's just a relationship with a guy. It's just a relationship with, it's just trying to love somebody and letting them love you. And then everything else comes from that. And I think for us, the thing that we get really excited about with our work at Hallow is, I don't think we focus on that enough as a church, as Christians, which is what really is it that we're sharing. And what it really is that we're sharing is this relationship that we have with this person. And many of us don't have it. And so that's, on us to try to build that. But for what we do at Hallow is just help people pray. And what is prayer but taking time to be alone with the one who loves us, letting him trying to love him better and letting him fill us up with love. And what happens then if we do that, if we take 10, 20 minutes and we sit in silence and we let the Lord speak to us, is all he does is love us. That's it. That's all he does. He just takes the time. It's just like a dad. Like I have a 4-year-old little daughter. And if I spend time alone with her, all I'm trying to do is love her better. That's all I'm trying to do is show her, just to try to communicate in as many ways as I can how much she is loved. I hope she can receive some small fraction of that. And that's what God does to us. When we sit in prayer, we just sit there and we let our hearts be filled up with love. And then what that causes us to do, if we sit and really let our hearts be filled up with love, is we then have to go share that. We know that we've been forgiven much. And so when people wrong us, we know, hey, I've done way worse and God forgave me, so I deserve to forgive you. We know that God is beautiful. We know that he's given us great beauty in the book of life, in the book of creation that he's so blessed us with. And so our goal is to go and reflect that beauty in some way, to create that beauty in some way, to live a life of charity, of virtue, of hard work, of discipline, of self-sacrifice, because he calls us to that and because it's deserved. But what he does is he just fills us with love, and then that love forces us to go share it. And so when I think about evangelization, I don't think about like, hey, this person is wrong, or this person is, I need to change somebody's perspective on something. All I think about is, man, I have this great guy. He's sitting right here, right next to me. He's changed my life. more radically than any billionaire ever could or any famous person ever could. He has changed my life more so. And he wants to do the same for you. So what would I do if I honestly believe that, to try to give you, to introduce you to that relationship? And that for me is like the core of Christianity is, yes, the fruit, and that should bear fruit. The fruit should be attractive to the world. It should be beautiful. We should live lives of radical love, of radical service, of radical generosity. But it's because it's rooted in a relationship with the Lord, so that if anybody looks at us and says, man, I want, they should look at us and say, man, I want what that guy has. I want what that guy has. And then our answer has to be, well, I only have this because I talk to this guy every day, because he gives me, because I talk to him every moment, because he gives me this love that I then have to go share with others. So for us, I don't know, just thinking about it like that relationship is what I think we have an opportunity to do as Christians and as a church.
The passion is undoubtedly evident. And you're right, if he is so amazing, which he is, how could we not share him? It's only second nature. And you mentioned this, and it reminds me of, I think of a helpful analogy. We tend to say we don't have time to pray. But where exactly is that coming from? Put that to the side for a moment. The principle of the tithe, right? So 10% from your income. For, I don't know, maybe almost 20 years, I thought, well, I've only been alive 20 years, but I suppose for the majority of my life, I thought the tithe was this principle of, I get to give God 10% of my earnings. And then one day, a mentor of mine told me, no, Daniel, God's letting you keep 90. And that completely, it switched upside down my perspective. And I realized, wow, God is so gracious that he's allowing me to keep that 90. I think it's the same thing with our time. And we say, we can't give God 20 minutes. Careful, he's giving you 23 hours and 40 minutes, right? If he's giving you so much, how can we not even consider to give so little? I think we have our perspective certainly off when it comes to the reverence the Lord deserves.
No, you're right. And the way that you flip that perspective is through prayer. It's through time with the Lord, or through time with friends and mentors, or through time talking and thinking about the faith. I mean, it's this, it reminds me that, like, I was sitting with my family when we were trying to pray. And praying as a family, I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-month-old. And so praying as a family is an adventure. And, you imagine the saints, and you think of, like, well, we're supposed to have families that pray together, stay together, and we're supposed to pray as a family. And so you imagine these people gathered around, there's total silence, and there's candles lit, and they're all praying, and the spirits, you feel super spiritual. And we're sitting there one day, and we sit down to pray. We just do like a decade of a rosary or something real short. And my 2-year-old is jumping on me and kicking me in the side. And my 4-year-old is hanging around my neck, trying to twist it off. And I'm sitting there, and I start to pray. And, I'm getting real, like, I'm like, man, this is not what it's supposed to be. Like our family is failing at this. And, like, I'm frustrated, and, like, we haven't done a good enough job of this, and it's clear. And then I keep praying just a little bit longer, and I'm like, let me just try to, whatever, I'll try to surrender it to the Lord. And then, like, immediately I'm hit with this, like, well, how lucky am I to get to sit here and have a 4-year-old wrestling my neck and a 2-year-old kicking me, both who are happy and healthy and joyful, and, like, the kids I love more than anything in the world, and, like, have given me a more joyful, like, are the greatest gifts I could possibly imagine. I would trade the world just to have another moment with these kids. And I was just like, gosh, like, how lucky am I to get to sit here and give glory to the Lord in this moment where my kids are being ridiculous. And it just flips, like, your whole, like, and prayer does that. It has this way of taking the same event, taking the same life, like you said, with the time, and just completely flipping on its head, which is like, how lucky are we? How grateful are we? Even when things are really hard, how lucky are we to get to live this life that the good Lord has given us? And time is an interesting one, because, like, you just think of how, C.S. Lewis has this one thing where he says, he writes this book, Screwtape Letters, which is about a demon trying to tempt a man. And it's another demon writing a note to this demon, teaching him how to tempt the man and to lead him away from God. And he says, of all of his tricks, of all of Satan's tricks, of all of the demon's tools that they have in their arsenal, there is none more important, none more powerful than noise. Noise alone, the grand dynamism. At the end of the day, we will make all hell a noise, all the earth a noise. And it's just this point of, like, how much of our lives are noise? When you think of like, well, I got to do homework, I got to do whatever, and it's like, yeah, but how if you really stripped out all the noise, if you really stripped out all the scrolling or all the idle talk or all the wasted time, how much time would that be? And unfortunately, we all have like a very clear answer to that because we have the little screen time app on our phones. So we just go and we're like, oh, 14 hours, or something crazy. And you're just like, and I can't take 20 minutes. I can't take 20 minutes of that. And Saint Jose Maria Escriva has this beautiful thing where he's like, whenever I think I'm too busy to pray a rosary, I pray too. And the funny thing is, when you really look back on your life, and it's important to work hard, it's important to study for tests, it's important to do all the hard work that you have to do as a person trying to be excellent. But when you really look back, for me, when I look back on like the best things I've done or the like greatest achievements I've done from the world's perspective, or even from God's perspective, they haven't really taken that much time. Like they've just been like a note that somebody sent me or some concept that I finally clicked after whatever, for some random reason, or, some random connection or something gets spiked up, or we figure out some like great piece of content or some great product feature that took about like 3 seconds to build. And, it's funny, like when you really think about, it's important to work hard, but at the end of the day, it's God doing the real things. It's God doing the heavy lifting. So how important would it be if you knew that, if you believed what we believe, which is that God is real and that he's here trying to help you, would it be to try to spend time listening to him and being like, what should I do today? And like at least 20 minutes in the morning, at least that much time. And we'll fail at it. It takes a long time for us men and women to build habits, but it's like he deserves at least that much, if not more. And when we think we're too busy, we probably need to spend more time in prayer, not less.
Yeah. It reminds me, I'm forgetting currently the author. Maybe you can help me. I'm so busy, I spend the first 3 hours in prayer. I believe Martin Luther said that. And I think he's completely right. I'm so busy, I need to at least start the first 3 hours of my day in prayer. That's how you best set up. And you also mentioned Screw Tape Letters. C.S. Lewis has a whole body of amazing works, but Screw Tape, in my personal opinion, is humorous in many senses. His interactions with Wormwood are very dark in one sense, but also being able to see it from that other perspective helps you realize that there's more noise than just sound. And what I mean by that is busyness is another form of noise, right? And another quote that comes to mind is, if Satan can't make you sin, then he'll make you busy. And it's the same as just filling your life with noise, right? When your main ambition in life, this is a quote from Leonard Ravenhill, my main ambition in life is to be on the devil's most wanted list, right? When that's your ambition, you're going to start realizing, oh, I'm suddenly so busy. Oh, suddenly there's all this noise. So I couldn't agree with you more. That's when you most need to stop, listen, sit in silence, and just pray.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
100%. We see the world through a lens of stories, archetypes, and plot points, the greatest of these being the crucifixion and resurrection narratives. The lessons from these normally apply beyond their words and into other areas of life. That said, what's the story you're hoping to tell through Hallow, your own journey, your team's own experience? What's the story you're trying to tell?
Yeah, I think it's the story of, it's funny because Christianity is, and I think this is true of all real truths, but like the most profound things are also the simplest and the things that you've heard 1,000 times. And so the question is like, well, how can we hear them in a new way? How can we let them strike our hearts in a new way? But like at the end of the day, the whole story, the whole book, the whole life, everything is just love. It's just learning to surrender to love. It's just learning to let love into your heart and to share that love with others. And Christ does this many times. He's like, all the law, all this long book about what to eat and how to eat and whatever is just about loving God with your whole heart and whole mind and your whole soul, and loving your neighbor as yourself. And then, the whole story culminates in the crucifixion and the resurrection. And what is that except the most perfect act of love, the most perfect act of self-sacrifice, and which is love. Like there's, the emotional love, and we can get in all the definitions and whatever, but at the core, what Christianity is giving as a definition of love is I give of myself, I die to myself for you. Like I sacrifice what I want for you, not like I feel a certain way or I feel, this emotional thing or romantic thing, but like I give of myself for you. What greater love is there than to lay down one's life for one's friends? And for me, I don't know, I've got such a long way to go, but like that is all I want Hallow to be. It's all I want my life to be, is just trying to share what God has done in my own life. And we see this all the time. And it's this just crazy, beautiful blessing. I just had somebody on our team who had joined our team full time and had been a part of it for a couple years. And she called me and she said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that me and my husband are converting to the church, to the faith." And I was like, "Oh, praise God. That's incredible. How, like, what? Tell me the story. Tell me the journey." And she goes, "You know what? It's funny. We decide these things just based off of the quality of the witness of the people that we surround ourselves, who we see is living a life of better love." And certainly not me. It's our incredible team who she gets to work with every day. But she said, the quality of the people that we've been able to work with at Hallow has convinced us that like what you guys are after, what you guys are doing is true. Like this is what it is. Whatever you guys have is what we want. And so we are trying to follow that as seriously as we can. And that's what we see all the time with folks who pray on the app is, most of the app is, it's just trying to help you learn to sit in silence and to structure that silence and to be led in meditation and contemplation and time of real prayer. And what God does in that silence is he just loves you. He just pours out his love to you. And like as a man, it can feel, I don't know, it can feel kind of like we're not supposed to want that, or like that's not a manly thing, And it's like that's bull. Like that's what you need, And it's it just gives you this joy and this freedom. And yeah, it's hard. The cool part about Christianity for a man, and we've watered it down, but it's like really hard. Like his love is not one that's like, "Oh, I love you no matter what," say who you are. He is like, "I love you and I call you to perfection. I call you to greatness. I call you to a challenge worthy of nothing other than a saint. You must die to yourself every moment. Every time you want to do something, tell yourself no. There is no greater challenge than that." And everybody else who's like, well, chase after money or chase after girls or chase after status or chase after money, they're just slaves to themselves. You're just a slave to yourself. If you really wanted to conquer yourself, if you really wanted to achieve like the challenge of a lifetime, it's sainthood. And you read the great saints, like and it's this really challenging thing, but it starts with this consuming fire of love. And, we had this one, but it applies to both men and women. We had this one young woman who reached out to us and said, "I just wanted to let you know," she was in college. She said, "I just wanted to let you know that I had grown up my entire life and had never heard anyone call me beautiful, had never heard anyone tell me that I was beautiful, and only ugly, only not worthy." And which, like, as a dad of a daughter, just breaks my heart. And she said she played a meditation and she looked into the mirror and in the silence heard God say, "You are beautifully and wonderfully made. Do you think I make mistakes?" We had this other woman reach out who was just trapped in this cycle of sin, like just this terrible cycle of sexual sin and addictions. And she started praying on the app and it was just in the silence. And she goes, "God, I am not worthy of you. Like I don't, you can't love me. I'm too broken. I've done too much wrong. I'm still doing stuff wrong. I don't know how to get out of it. You couldn't love me." And she just hears, "I love you." And she goes, "No, you can't." And he goes, "I love you." And just for 10 minutes, she just says, "You can't." And he says, "I love you." And just time and time again, back to her. And it's like, that's what I want. That's what I want for people to receive. That's what I want. That's what I've received. And that's what I think we're all sitting here receive. What God is hoping to give to all of us is just this incredible love that he has for us. And it's through his son, it's through his word, it's through his creation, it's through everything that he gives us. But it's just this story of how deeply he loves us. And it's a challenging love. It's a difficult love, but it's a life-changing love. So I don't know, the story of my life and is hoping to be as small a pointer to that love as I can.
The greatest love there is to lay one's own life down for others. And yet in that same love, we're called to become better because Jesus in his own word says, "Come follow me." And later he says, "Pick up your cross daily." picking up your cross has never been easy. I don't think it ever will be. You have the whole trip to Golgotha ahead of you, right? The cross is heavy. By that point, you've been through so much, and yet God says, I love you through that. And in my form of love is calling you to become better through it. And you don't see that every day. It hurts me to hear that it took someone so many years to for the first time hear you're beautiful. I don't think we should be living in that kind of world. And what does it cost us to be more than just missionaries, but simple reflections of Christ? I mean, it's where we started earlier. We can't help but say, hey, this guy is so amazing. You got to meet him. We just can't help but say, hey, you're beautiful because Jesus loves you. Wow. Certainly profound to see God working in that way. I hadn't expected that.
He does incredible things when you let him. And it's, for us, it's just trying to be as transparent a window as you can, and just to let the light that is in your heart, which is the Lord, shine through to other people. And to do that, you have to clean the glass. It can't be a smudged glass. It has to be as clear as it can be, which is removing the imperfections, removing the connections that we have to this world and the attachments that we have. But then the focus is just letting your light shine before others. And the light that you have in your heart is Christ. And so, the cool part for us, and you get to see this at Hallow a lot, is just the ripple effect that one kind word, the ripple effect that one act of love can have in someone's life. I mean, it can lead to healing that you couldn't possibly imagine. Satan does really terrible things, and the ripple effect of evil is unimaginable. But at the same time, God does better things, and the ripple effect of good is likewise unimaginable. And it just changes the world in ways and changes people's hearts in ways that you couldn't imagine. And the first greatest thing you could do for someone is to share with them the source of all love itself, which is the Lord.
Amen. Amen. You've mentioned this before in past conversations and in speaking engagements, but to mature is to sacrifice. I've heard you testify of the importance of sacrifice in running a company, as well as in being a faithful man. Could you share a little bit more about those sacrifices, what they've been, what they've looked like, and how you finally managed at the end of the day to lay everything down? What does surrender mean?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. There's a bunch of sacrifices that you make throughout your life. Everybody who loves really, or who tries to really do anything in the world knows that you have to take real sacrifices. You know that as a student, you know that as an entrepreneur. Certainly, I had to, drain my 401k at 26 years old, take the 30% penalty, lose everything that I had, and have a great job that I loved and quit that and to go do this startup. Or as a father, you have to sacrifice your nights. You have to wake up in the middle of the night. You don't go out anymore. You have to, try to sleep is probably the hardest sacrifice that new parents at least make. And so that's certainly the focus. But, you give up an extended night of sleep or feeling well rested. But but by far the hardest sacrifices, or the thing I think, I was just reading this great book, but at the core of prayer, what you're called to do is to turn away from yourself and to turn toward God. And so away from egocentrism and towards God. And what that means is this whole world is built up around us. The whole world is built up around yourself. I want to make you, everybody wants to sell you something that makes you happier. Everybody wants to sell you something that makes you more comfortable. Everybody wants to sell you something that makes you more successful or makes you have higher status or whatever it is. And we think the vast majority of our thoughts in well, is this good for me? What is this doing for me? How am I reacting to this? Is this making me happy? Is this? And what God is calling us to do is to die to ourselves. He's calling you to sacrifice that, which is you, and to put God first. So die to yourself and let Christ live in your heart, not you. No longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And so what that means is it means dying to yourself, which is really hard. I mean, it's the hard daily thing of well, if I want a coffee, can I not have a coffee so that I can give it up for the Lord, or share in his pain in some way? Or even when he gives you pain, can you offer that up back to him? Being generous with your brothers and sisters, being generous with your time, being disciplined with your time, all these things, fighting against procrastination and wasted time, all the things that we do, dying to yourself and to your own desires and to your own lusts. And then replacing that with God. And what that means is like you're surrendering yourself, like if you think about this story of Satan, like Satan rises up against God and says, no, I want to be my own, I want to serve myself. And what we're called to do, we all have little Satans inside of us, is to say, no, like that part of me needs to die and I need to surrender it back to the Lord. And it's especially in like startup world or in, academics or whatever, it's this very counterintuitive thing. It's like, no, you're not, most people are like, oh, well, study really hard or work really hard or figure out whatever the product market fit thing is for entrepreneurship or whatever. And, as Christians, it's like, well, give up, surrender. And it's like, no, you still work hard, it takes discipline. But at the core, the real thing that I've learned, and when I think about anything, like I said, when I think about anything good that's happened in Hallow, it's been through this process of surrendering, where we try to do something, but then ultimately we let it go. And you say, hey, God, this is yours. Like, do with it what you want. And then he does these incredible things. And I was talking with Dallas Jenkins, who's the creator of The Chosen, about this, and he was sharing his own story with creating The Chosen. It was the same thing. He had this, like, he was struggling with, no, his crowdfunding is never going to work. This thing, everybody's going to see me as a failure, blah, blah, blah. And then he had this meditation on the loaves and fish. And he says, you know what his disciples did? They didn't like control the outcome. They didn't make sure that there was enough fish or bread for everybody. They just brought God what they had. They just said, hey, this is all we've got. Like, this is the whole thing. I'm giving it to you. This is all I've got, is these loaves and fish. And he goes, great. Like, that's what I want. I can do the fish and the loaves. I can do it with a snap of a finger. I can make everybody enough food. Don't worry about that. I made the whole world. You think I can't make enough fish and bread for people? And same thing for our problems. It's like, well, what if I don't get it the right job? Or what if he's like, I made the whole world. I don't want you to worry about that. Like, you do your work. You do what I call you to in every moment. You try to love me and your neighbors as best as you can. And then let the outcome, leave it to me. And then he just does these beautiful things with it. And it's this enormously freeing thing too for us as Christians, is this learning of radical surrender, so that in every moment it's not us who lives, but Christ who lives in us. And so for me, really, it's just this, I think it's the journey to heaven. Ultimately, we had this husband reach out to us whose wife had just passed, and she was diagnosed with a terminal illness that she had 6 months. And he said, as soon as they were probably young 40s, and they had kids. And so he was stressed. He was freaking out, super anxious and all this stuff. And he said, as soon as she got the news, it was just this like wave of peace. It was just this wave of peace that came over. And I think for anybody who spends a lot of time with terminally ill, you can relate to this. They're just like, there's so many of them who just have this incredible holiness and peace and surrender. And he asked, like, okay, so why? Like, I've been freaking out for the last couple months trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Like, how have you're nearing the end of your own life. Like, how do you have this? And she goes, the funny thing is, I just realized that all of life, the whole thing, is just practice for surrendering to the Lord. That's it. It's just like, we have this opportunity in every moment. We have this opportunity in every decision, in every relationship, in every encounter, to try to practice to surrendering to the Lord. And then ultimately, that's what we're called to do at the end of our lives, is to surrender our lives to the Lord. Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. And we're called to follow the example of our Lord, and he's the one who does it in us anyway. So he is both the example to follow and the one who actually does it. But it's just this process of learning to let go of the outcome and letting him do these incredible things in your life. So for me, surrender has been really the only thing I've learned throughout entrepreneurship.
You do your part and let God do his, right?
Yeah, and his part's a lot more important than yours.
100%. And we too many times are like, you know what? I think I'm going to do my part and God's part, and I can manage both. And it's simply, we can't. When I think of surrender, I think about this image, the image I showed you earlier. It still requires us to stretch out our hands, right? To give up the smaller teddy bear and say, okay, here you go. Because I don't, not always God will say, no, I'm going to take it from you. Sometimes in extreme cases when, we become a little bit hard of heart, maybe the Lord is saying, hey, we have to move you into this different season. But most times it's just offer it up. And then look what I have behind my back. You don't know what's coming. You don't know the blessings that are on their way. And sometimes in the offering and in the switching of the teddy bears, as seen in the image, there's a small space of emptiness where it's you don't have what you had and you don't have what God's promised you. And it's that small space that I can't help but worry in. I felt it in my own life. I've experienced it. My family's experienced it. And we know worrying doesn't help. It's never changed the outcome, right? God is still good. He always has been. He's consistently doing a new thing. And yet, in that emptiness, in that surrender, we've never had to be more faithful. And we've never had to trust more. And it's never meant as much on the other side. Because if we knew what was coming, then it wouldn't mean as much at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like the worst parts. And I was reflecting on this like 2 days ago, and it was just like, how frustrating must it be to be Satan? And like the worst things in someone's life are also the things that God can bring the most good through. And it's like the times that suck the most are the greatest opportunities to demonstrate real faith. Because like when he gives you the thing, it doesn't matter as much to him. And like, that as a dad, like when you're a parent, it just all becomes so clear. Like you want your kids to listen to you and to trust you. And you want them to listen right away. You don't want them to be like, okay, I'll do that next week. You want them to do it right away. And you want them to do it with joy. You don't want them to do it with disdain and with complaining. You want it to do it with joy. You want them to listen right away and to do it with joy. And you want them to ask you for the stuff that they want. Like you don't want them to hide stuff away from you. You want them to be honest with you and be like, hey, I want that piece of chocolate. But when you say no, the best response you could have as a kid is to be like, okay, Dad, I trust you. I know you have my best interest in heart. And even though it's sad for me that I don't have this chocolate right now, or even it's sad for me that I had to give up this chocolate, I trust in you. And if they say that, usually I'm like, okay, here's a piece of chocolate. It's like, because I'm so happy that you've trusted in me. And to God, it's like, whether it's your dating life or whether it's your career or whether it's your financials or whatever it is that you're holding on to. And for most of us, it's probably a number of things. And we just hold on to these things. And it's really hard to know what we're holding on to. But prayer reveals it and God reveals it if you ask him, like, hey, God, what am I holding on to that isn't just love, like that isn't just you? It's pretty obvious. It's whatever you're worried about. It's whatever you're focused on during this time when you sit in silence. And when you actually give it to him, there's this moment where it's like, but what, you're right. Like, you can't give it to him and think like, oh, I'm going to give this to you so that I can get double back. You can't be like, I'm going to try to manipulate God. You have to be like, God, I'm going to give this to you and I'm going to trust whatever you want. If you don't want me to have it, you don't want me to have it. If you're going to give me more back, you're going to give me more back. Maybe you're saving me from something that I don't know. Maybe you're preventing me from falling into some calamity that I have no idea about. Maybe this is actually a bad thing that's going to lead me to something bad. I trust you, whatever it is. And usually he then gives the thing back. But it's in that moment where he doesn't. It's in that moment where either he says no or he says not right now. And that moment is where you have the greatest opportunity as a child of God to be like, you know what, God, I still trust you. Like, blessed be the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away, blessed be the Lord. It's Job, who is like perfectly righteous, more righteous than any of us, more deserving of anything. And yet the good Lord allows everything to be taken from him, all of his kids, all of his land, all of his servants, all of his money. And he's very wealthy. He's a very wealthy man, and everything goes away. And then he's beset with these terrible sores all over his body. He's sitting on the ashes. All his friends tell him, well, it's because you sinned. It's because of payment for whatever sin. And he goes, I'm telling you guys, I didn't sin at all. I didn't do anything wrong. And he says, blessed be the Lord gives, the Lord taketh away, blessed be the Lord. And that is the moment where God is done the most glory. C.S. Lewis has this other line, which I love, which is like, the devil is never more defeated than when man wakes up, looks around, and sees no sign of God in the world, sees no consolation, sees no pleasure, sees no goodness, and yet still obeys the Lord. And it's like, yes, like that is the opportunity. It's not when he gives us treats. It's not when he makes us happy. It's not when he gives us gifts. It's not when he gives us the things of the world. It's when he takes those away that we still have this tremendous opportunity to say, God, I still trust in you. And it's like that. I forget what this is, but I see it all the time. It's like, if you pray to God to be courageous, he doesn't give you courage. He gives you opportunities to be brave. If you pray to God for patience, he doesn't give you patience. He gives you opportunities to grow in patience. And so those moments that suck the most are the times in which you're growing the closest to the Lord, which is the greatest gift. I mean, it's why the Sermon on the Mount is so like it flips everything on its head. It's, blessed are those who are poor. Blessed are those who mourn. Like the times that suck the most, those are the times you're getting closest to me. It's like working out. It's like, hey, if you were like an expert at working out and you were talking to somebody about the process of getting in shape, you'd be like, you know what you should enjoy? Like the best part is when, man, your muscles are screaming out and they're like, that means you're really building muscle. Like that means you're really getting in shape. And it's like, yes, that's what it is for the spiritual life. It's flipping everything on its head. And it's in those moments of deprivation that we have the greatest opportunities to surrender ourselves in a way that actually matters.
This isn't in the notes, but I just can't help to bring it up. We tend to call those periods of our life or those moments the storms. And what we don't often realize is sometimes the storms are safer than the land. And this was revealed to me in a Bible study last week, where Jesus has just fed the 5,000, right? And they're coming to make him king by force. And he senses this in his spirit. And so he draws away and he sends his disciples across the sea to meet them there, right? To go ahead of him. And in this moment, this is when the disciples enter the storm, right? And so you ask yourself, why would Jesus send them from land to storm, knowing that the storm is coming? Because of course he does. But we forget about the 2-3 verses before that says they were coming to make him king forcefully, right? There was a danger coming towards the disciples and Jesus. And Jesus knew that they would not stand against the 5,000 people mob, right? There was greater danger on the land than there was in the storm. And I hadn't thought about it that way, but sometimes sending us into the storm is exactly what we need, because it actually keeps us safer. Yes, we grow in patience. Yes, we grow in courage, but also we're right where we need to be. Because if we had stayed on that land, we might have enjoyed it, might have not have been as tossy, but we could have lost it all.
Yeah, and he's focused on something that's a lot more important than whether. I mean, it's hard because if you lose somebody, the pain of that is just so tremendous. But he's focused on something a lot more important than whether you live a couple extra years or not. He's focused on your eternal salvation. And what he's trying to do with everything in his power is to lead you to heaven. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to make you into a saint. He's trying to transform your heart to be on fire for his love. And he's not as worried about whether, people on Twitter don't like you, or whether, you don't make as much money as you would at the other job offer. He's not, he's worried about those things because he knows that you are worried about him. But what he's focused on is the sanctification of your heart. And often the things that the world sees as the storms, the things that the world sees as the most difficult parts of people's lives, are the blessings. They're the gifts. They're the opportunity to get rejected from a job that you really wanted. Like that, the humility that comes with that, as I can personally attest, is much more powerful than getting the job. It's these things that he's trying to give you, these gifts, but and to lead your soul to salvation. But he's not as focused on the things that you think he should be focused on. And so, yeah, oftentimes he's also, making it so that, maybe you get a better job offer and you make more money, or maybe you're safer and you're healthier, or whatever it is. But and he often does give those gifts, like Job. He gave double the resources and double the land and double the wealth. Like at the end, he gave him all the worldly things. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you. He gives you all the things second, but what he's most focused on is the first thing. And when you really enter into prayer, it just, like, he makes it so obvious. Like the little things, which is all the big things of the world, are so meaningless. Like they don't matter. And it's so hard to say that, but they don't. And the more that we can realize that, the more that we can act like that, the more that we can recognize that in our lives and focus on what actually matters, which is trying to love other people better, then he always comes through helping us to love better, always comes through helping us to live a better life, living a life more on fire for him.
Amen. Alex, there's so much more to talk about. I hope to have you on again soon, continue the conversation. Sincerely, thank you for all your words of wisdom. May God continue to guide and bless you. You have been an inspiration to so many, as well as onto me. I pray that God blesses your family as well abundantly. I pray for each and one of your children, for your 6-year-old, your 4-year-old, your 6-month-year-old, 2-year-old, and anyone else to
For the
come for
kids.
generations and generations. Sincerely, you're doing a great work, and you can't stop right now. And so I pray that the doors continue to open. And it is with so much gratitude that I thank you for this meeting today.
Well, glory be to the Lord. Is all credit to the man upstairs. We've got an incredible team that's working on this thing, so it's a blessing to get to
Amen.
work with them. And then, I really appreciate the kind words, the work that you're doing, and for the prayer for me. Likewise, we'll be praying for you and all the work that you've got going and all the students. So please know my prayers.
Amen. Thank you. Much love. God bless, and stay curious.